25, breaks a couple of tackles, and look at him go! He could go all the way! Touchdown!
Winning is not a sometimes. It's an always. Winning is a habit.
What's up, sports fans? Welcome back to another episode of Gut Check Podcast. Big day today. We're talking NFC East to wrap up our prediction episodes. With me, as always, my good friend and co-host, Seth Floyd Hansen. How you feeling today, man?
I'm good. Nice jersey, dude. Who is it?
Sean Lee, Big 5-0, one of my favorites. We were talking about this last episode, right, where my wife called me the hipster of Cowboy fans because I don't go for the Dez Bryant, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott kind of stuff.
Yeah, that seems like a total Matt move. I'm curious if you had, forgive my lack of Cowboy knowledge, is Sean Lee still on the roster, or is he? He is. Did he finish on IR last year?
I don't think he finished on IR. I think that was one of the years he didn't.
It didn't. Okay. So besides Sean Lee, what jersey would you wear of an active Cowboys player right now?
Of an active? I don't know. So, I mean, I'm not like anti-Zeke, Dak, any of that. I have thought about getting a CeeDee Lamb jersey.
Okay.
I think I could finally get one of those. But no, since I played offensive line in my youth, I would want a Zach Martin jersey. You said active. I wanted to get a Travis Frederick. I just never wanted to like spend $200 for a nice jersey.
Sure.
But yeah, I'd get one of those. Tyron Smith, Connor Williams even, because then it'd be Williams on the back. That could work.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah. I feel you there. I know I have jerseys in the background, but these jerseys were like given to me. I'm not a like get a ton of jerseys and switch them up every game day or whatever. Like I'd rather just have one and just wear it into the ground. And this, my George Kittle jersey was a birthday present, so it didn't feel like I spent the actual money. You know what I mean? Even though it came out of my bank account. Yeah, it was from my wife, but that's all right. So yeah, I'm with you there. That's cool, man. Maybe.
How's your superstition when it comes to jerseys? Do you have any?
I mean, no, I wouldn't call it superstition. I only have so many. Well, now that we're doing the podcast, like on YouTube, like I have a reason to wear it. It's more like I'm not a guy. I'm not gonna wear my jersey around just like on a random day to the mall.
Sure.
So like I'm like looking for reasons to wear it, and so then if I'm watching a 49er game and I'm not wearing it, like I feel dumb. So before my Kittle jersey, I was wearing one of the two in the background. Like that's my dad's old Steve Young jersey from when he was, I don't know, he got it when he was probably my age. And then a wedding present was this Dwight Clark jersey that's signed. And I don't know if you can see it, but the play where he had the catch is actually like drawn and stitched into the bottom there. It's kind of hard to see. But yeah, so that was a wedding present from my father-in-law, who's actually a Cowboys fan, by the way, but he like thought it would be cool. So I used to rotate those, and then now I rep. So I'm a little superstitious, I guess, because I'm not going to wear any of those anymore. I'm only wearing the George Kittle jersey going forward. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, so this is the one jersey I have, so I wear it every game, and I don't wash it after a win, but it has to be washed after a loss, and it's usually like I'm mad and I like rip it off some point in the fourth quarter when I know we lost, and I throw it right in the wash. Yeah. I'm like, just get it washed.
Yeah. Wow. So you're like real superstitious on it then.
Yeah, it's stupid. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like I can fully admit it makes no sense, but I mean, I don't know. Why not, I guess.
Are you superstitious about it? Like, do you watch other sports? Any of your other favorite teams like you do the Cowboys? I know that football is so much easier because it's once a week, you know what I mean? But is there any other sports that you watch that religiously?
I'm trying to think. No, but when I'm trying to think, when the Astros were in the World Series, I was wearing my Astros hat, and I think I would like I would like take it off sometimes, like just didn't want to wear it and I'd set it down. The Nationals would score a run and be like, oh, what am I doing, man? Put the hat back on.
Nice.
And I remember several years ago, like last time the Spurs were in the championship, I was at my cousin's house. They live in San Antonio. Well, I was living in Houston at the time, but I called them. I was like, hey, can I come over? And I remember my uncle being like, wait, you were here last game, right? Did we win last time you were here? I was like, yeah, we did. That's why I can come over. He goes, okay, fine. And then my cousin had this old Spurs hat that one game he left on the coffee table, and they won. So now he has to like keep that hat on the coffee table.
I love that.
But he was so mad because he's like, dude, I want to wear my hat. And like the whole family, we're all just yelling at him like, don't touch that hat. You leave it on the coffee table.
That's awesome. Dude, I don't have any, I wouldn't say I have any superstitions, but I do this thing on game day that has been, I'll say more often than not has been accurate, where like through like a couple hours before game time, whether I'm sitting in church or if I'm watching like another game or something, like I'll have like a premonition, I'll say, like, I don't know what else you would call it, but I'll have like in my head, like I'll have this thought, like today's going to be a good day or today's going to be a bad day. And like more often than not, like I feel like I'm like, oh crap, we're going to lose, or, oh, like this is going to be a good day, we're going to win. And I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but like it's that is like the closest I've had to like a superstition. I don't know how real that is, and I might just be psyching myself out, but it feels like every game day, like a couple hours before, like I get this sense and I'm like, oh crap, or oh, I think we're going to win today kind of deal. That's probably me being dumb, but anyway, that's like the closest I've had.
That's too funny, man. I mean, yeah, we can all admit like whatever superstition we have or whatever is all pretty silly, but it just becomes part of the game, Yeah. And then you kind of like psych yourself out. Like, I can't change it. I know it's dumb, but like, yeah, I'm gonna blame myself if I don't wear the jersey. You know what I mean?
How could you forgive yourself if you change something and then they lost? So
yeah. Like the Cowboys are about to lose 2 in a row. I'm like, did I wash my jersey? What did I do wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
You just crave to be a part of the team, man. I don't know if that's sad or what, but
that's awesome.
So we'll move on to something else. Enough superstition talk. We are talking NFC East, hence the jersey and the excitement. To round out our predictions, we say the best for last. Well, really, in all seriousness, this was one of the worst divisions last year. Eagles won it at 9-7. Cowboys choked it away at 8-8, and then you have Washington at 3-13 and New York 4-12. I knew they were both bad. I had to confirm how bad they were.
Yeah.
So pretty poor division. It's nowhere to go but up. But we'll see how they finish. Starting with the over/under, the team predicted to finish last is Washington, running out at 5.5 is their over/under. What are your thoughts on Washington?
I think I'm higher on Washington than a lot of people are, and I think that's because I like their defense and their defensive line so much now with Chase Young, Montez Sweat. Like, they've got some pieces there that are pretty good and pretty intriguing. I kind of feel like it's gonna be the over, actually. I think that they can get to 6 wins, and it's all gonna depend on Dwayne Haskins, who I don't think you certainly couldn't write him off in the small sample size. He did some good things, I guess. He definitely didn't do anything to make you feel like real confident that he's the future, but he was talented at Ohio State. I'm a little wary of Ohio State quarterbacks a little bit. Like, if you look at, I saw this thing going about Justin Fields' stats yesterday, and they were showing like some highlights where he threw a 2-yard screen that went for 70 yards, and everyone's like, just a reminder that this counted as a 70-yard touchdown pass to Justin Fields. Like, there's a lot of that going on, and I think Dwayne Haskins was probably on the lower end, wasn't even as good as Justin Fields. But that being said, like, I like Ron Rivera a ton. Like I think he was a good hire for that franchise. I think that like I said, Terry McLaurin, it depends what they can get out of the run game. That feels like a mystery to me. You kind of have AP in the mix, who I still like as like a reliable, like know what you're going to get from him. You'd hope that Darius Geis would step up and like take another step, but he's had some injury issues. But what I'm really going off of is their defense, that I think in this division, like that's going to pay off, because this division, while should be better, I can't imagine them being worse. Like you said, can only go up. I still think is going to be pretty low as a division whole compared to the rest of the NFL. So I'm going to take the over. I think 6 wins. You could, I mean, I don't know if you get something from Dwayne Haskins, like he looks like he, actually is like taking the next step, like maybe 7 wins on like a perfect season type of like everything falling right for them. But I'm going to take the over.
Yeah. I'll officially go under with them, but I don't think it's too drastic of an under. Like I'll predict 5-11 here, so just barely the under here. My concern is the addition of Ron Rivera trying to mesh with Dwayne Haskins. So it's a new coaching staff, young quarterback. Yeah. We've talked about that through our podcast. With this new season, this off season, how are they going to mesh together? You know, I did hear the Saints, for example, are doing like meetings 4 days a week, however that may be, like, you know, Zoom meetings or whatever, to go over playbook and scheme. So I assume Washington's doing at least 4 times a week, probably more. You know, you'd expect them to be professionals about it and, you know, take care of business, but it's still different. And so you still have that concern because it's a whole new system. Ron Rivera also brought in Kyle Allen from the Panthers. So how much does Rivera even want Haskins to be there? That's always a concern. There was talk about them even picking Tua second overall. I completely agree with you on defense. I think they are good there. But if your offense is getting 3 and outs every time, turning the ball over, giving your defense short fields, you know, quick turnarounds, that's tough for any defense. So I think that's where they're still going to be at. And even on the defensive side of the ball, they're strong up front, but they lost Josh Norman and Quentin Dunbar out of their cornerbacks, and they have Kyle Fuller there now. So while Josh Norman wasn't his same self, you know, like he was in Carolina, he was good. So they're going to have to replace that. So yeah, we'll see. I think Dwayne Haskins could be the guy. Like you said, it's a small sample size so far. There's nothing to say he can't be a pro starting quarterback and lead that team, but I don't think this year is going to be the year that they completely turn it around. I think they're still a couple of years away.
Yeah, so I do like, so in the 4th round, this was a guy that I was kind of hoping, well, I don't want to say because you'll make fun of me. I was hoping he'd fall to the Niners, but he went in the 4th round to Washington. It was Antonio Gandy Golden, who is he was out of Liberty, which was, I guess they went from FCS to FBS in this past year or whatever. But he was a wide receiver, 6'4", 223. And if you look at his highlights, like he was just a monster, like just running guys over type of stuff. And certainly, I don't want to say undervalued because he played at the FCS level or that, you know, what it was a transitioning program, but he looked really good. Went in the 4th round. So I think he's going to be a nice addition to Terry McLaurin. And then they also, I mean, we talk about running back help, and in the 3rd round, they went Antonio Gibson, running back out of Memphis. So a big running back, 6 foot, 228. So, you know, like I think that they could have some pieces, but it's all none of that's going to matter if Dwayne Haskins doesn't take that next step. You know what I mean? And I just think, I don't know, Washington's going to be limited. Just because of their front office. Like that's kind of what we've seen.
Always.
That's why the Browns have struggled. Why you see some of these teams that never figure it out is because they just don't have somebody who can run the organization correctly. And that's on Dan Snyder. And I you know, the Ron Rivera hire I think was good. And so hopefully they can start to do something. But Dan Snyder needs to, like the whole deal with Dwayne Haskins, right? Like, wasn't that Dan Snyder's pick? or wasn't he was kind of pressuring like, hey, I like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're the owner, man, if you've hired a GM, you need to get out of there. If you want to make picks, then don't hire a GM. You be the GM full time, but you can't just be in the guy's ear, and you know what I mean. So that's why I'm never gonna have real faith in Washington, but I think with a good defense, they could hit the over on this.
Yeah. Yeah, only time will tell. We'll see there. Cowboys get them on Thanksgiving. Should be fun.
Yeah.
Next up, and also finished third last season, New York, over under right here. I just lost it, but 6.5 over under, and they finished 4-12 last year. So how you feeling about this new Daniel Jones era?
I think I'm taking the under.
Okay.
I think because I think this is where they're gonna finish, anywhere from 5 to 7 wins. Yeah. I think if I had to put money, I would take the under though, because I mean you have a new coach, Joe Judge, like a pretty unproven guy. That hire kind of came out of left field, and I don't think that it was a bad hire necessarily. Like a lot of people like Joe Judge a lot, but it was like nothing about the hire gives me confidence. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Bill Belichick coaching tree hires haven't been successful, so it feels like the under. I think Daniel Jones is all right, but I don't think he's anything to be like I'm really excited about. Yeah. I mean they have Saquon, and Darius Slayton, who. Now I'm a little biased because I just traded for him in fantasy. Like I'm hoping he really comes, but he came along real strong as Daniel Jones's favorite target near the end of the year last year. So like they probably have some pieces. It just, I don't know. Like I don't have any reason to feel like they have figured it out. And Daniel Jones is kind of the start. I mean, I guess I would take Daniel Jones over Dwayne Haskins at this point, but I mean, who knows? Like, it's just such a mystery. If I'm them, like you've got Jason Garrett calling the plays now, like I would just hand the ball to Saquon 40 times a game, because that feels like your best opportunity I would just set up play action. He better be touching the ball 25 times a game. He's by far your best player on the team. And then try and set up play action and just hope that your defense plays well. Like I don't know what else to expect. And if I'm a defense, like I know you're going to do that. So I don't know.
It's going to be interesting to see Jason Garrett calling plays again, because obviously that's where he made his name in Dallas was offensive coordinator calling plays, and then he shifted over to head coach, up and down. Never really made it, but he was a good offensive coordinator. So yeah, if I have to pick, I think again you kind of have that same situation, new coach, young quarterback. It's very similar to Washington. So 6.5, it's tough to think that they're going to be a 7-9 team.
Yeah.
To get that much better with bringing in all these new pieces. So I'll probably think 6-10. I think they will finish third. If I was going to pick one team, or between them and the Redskins, I would have more faith in the Giants, I think.
Probably.
Yeah, because they do have an established running back who's all pro. And I think Daniel Jones is a little better right now than Dwayne Haskins.
Sure.
Yeah. They picked up some good pieces on defense, paid a lot of money for it. So let's see if it pays off. Yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot to say about the Giants, I think, right now. You don't know kind of where they're going or if it's all going to work out with this Daniel Jones piece, which they drafted insanely high for this guy. But yeah, the jury's out on Joe Judge. No pun intended there.
So I mean, I think that I don't know. They're going to be desperate. The Giants are. They're one of those franchises that you kind of expect to have they've sustained a level of success for a number of years. With Eli Manning, they won 2 Super Bowls. Yeah. And I want the Joe Judge hiring to be good. Like I love Saquon Barkley as a running back guy. Like he's literally everything you could ever want. If you could design a running back in a lab, like that's who you would do. That's what you would make. But just feels like last year was a regression just because the team wasn't very good. And I don't know. It's like you said, the jury's out, and hopefully they can get something together. Well, I guess you're a Cowboys fan, so you're hoping they don't get anything figured out. But that's what I see.
Not too much. And I do think it helps the Joe Judge hire to have Jason Garrett as an offensive coordinator. I don't think he's the type of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's the type of ego to step in and say, oh, I've been a head coach, let me do this. But he's just another, stable, experienced piece to counter Joe Judge's inexperience. You know what I mean? So I think that's a good hire. I don't know who they have as their defensive coordinator. I could look it up, but either way, like I think that makes sense, and so that could be a good pair there.
Sure, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It left me, but Jason Garrett, I think being an offensive coordinator is right. He's not a head coach. I don't think he's a good enough motivator. But as an offensive coordinator, he had success before, and maybe he'll have a chance to get revenge on the Cowboys a couple times this year.
Yeah, we'll see. So next two teams both have the same over-under, which I think is a little high for both of these guys. But we'll start with the Eagles. Over-under 9.5, coming off a first place finish last year at 9-7. What do you think?
I think that the Eagles are a pretty good team. Mm-hmm. I think that they need to stay healthy, and I think that if they'd been healthy last year, they probably, they finished 9-7 last year, right?
Yeah.
I think they could have won 11 games last year. 2 games, if you would assume that not having practice squad guys as your entire receiving core would be good for 2 games.
You would think,
especially against the NFC East. Doug Peterson is a Super Bowl winning coach. Carson Wentz has been an MVP candidate at times in his career. Mm-hmm. I think if they stay healthy, it's going to be hard for the Cowboys to take over the division and win the division. Yeah. The Cowboys on paper, at least on offense, for sure have more weapons, but I think it's the new coach, you know what I mean? You're bringing in a new system. Some of your guys are young. We all want to talk about CD Lamb and how great he's going to be, and I'm sure he's going to have a great career, but he is going to be a rookie. And he's going to be on a team that were a lot of mouths to feed. And you also have some controversy with your quarterback. So I'm going to take the over on Philadelphia, and I think they probably win 11 games this year. And I think that they're going to win the division. I'm a big Carson Wentz guy. I think that he's been in a tough situation at times. How hard is it? You lead a team all season, get hurt, and then Nick Foles wins a freaking Super Bowl while you're on the sideline. And then last year it's the opposite. You're literally carrying the team on your back, and everyone gets hurt, and they almost signed me. And if I didn't have a contract obligation at the middle school, I would have been playing slot receiver for him. So what a tough, but I like Carson Wentz because he's just handled it. You know what I mean? He just handles it, and I like Doug Peterson. So they drafted Jalen Reagor, who I was pretty low on. He wasn't. I don't think he's going to be bad, but I just liked more guys than him. But I put my money where my mouth is. I drafted him in my fantasy draft. So maybe Carson can make something out of him. So we'll see. We're going to see what the Eagles are really made of if they can stay healthy.
Yeah. And so it looks like the Eagles went out and they had a plan and they got better where they needed to get better. They needed help at wide receiver. So they got that. Jalen Reagor, they traded for Marquise Goodwin. They got some help there. Then they made some big moves on defense. Bringing in Darius Slay, giving him a big contract to kind of shut down some of those wide receivers that we talk about that are in the NFC East, mainly the Cowboys. So, if you look at what they did last year with a banged up, dysfunctional team, they finished 9-7, winning 4 of their last games to win the division. It's hard to say they're going to do worse than that when they just made all these right moves to be better. So, unfortunately, I think I got to take the over as well. I think 11-5 does make sense. Probably 10-6 because the division's going to be tougher, like we say. So you may split with the Redskins and the Giants. It's going to be tough to sweep both of those guys, I think. for both the Eagles and the Cowboys. It's still a two-headed race in the division. If you're a Cowboys fan, though, you look back that there hasn't been the same back-to-back division winner since 2004.
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
Yeah, which was back when the Eagles were winning it like 4 or 5 times in a row. I forget. So that was the last time, and then it's just been back and forth every year, which is just wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on paper, Eagles got better where they needed to get better. So yeah, I think it just makes sense that barring any injuries, which is not out of the realm of possibility with them, they can be 11-5, and they're going to be formidable. Real quick though, I do want to bring up, this Jalen Hurts pick.
Yeah, I was going to say, I want to talk about that.
We talked about it after the draft. They pick him in the second round. A lot of people are thinking, is he just a backup quarterback that you need? Are you going to put him in your offense? I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
Well, backup quarterback, sure, but they're going to use him. They're going to use him. And he might play. I think midway through the season, as Carson's healthy, like you're going to see Jalen Hurts around week 8. Like he's going to start taking 5 to 10 snaps a game, whether that's as like just look at what Taysom Hill is doing in New Orleans, but like on a lesser version. Like they're not you're not gonna line Jalen Hurts up at tight end or anything like that, but you're gonna get him in some wildcat formations. You might get him at a running back spot, like because then you don't know if he's could be a toss sweep, could be a toss halfback pass. They're gonna get creative in that way. I do think Jalen Hurts, like they're fine grooming Jalen Hurts for a few years. And the more I've thought about the pick, I don't love it. Like I wouldn't have done it, but from where you're at now, like you could groom him, he could make some plays. And if in 3 years Carson Wentz is like an MVP and he's stayed healthy, and you're just like, hey, Hurts is probably never going to be our starter, like you probably just trade him. You really could, and get a third or a fourth, maybe a second round pick for him for a desperate team, and then it's not, you know what I mean? Then it's not as bad of a pick. Yeah. Statistically, it says like he's probably going to get in the game sometime this year. Just Carson's track record is he's gotten hurt every year. If you include the playoffs last year, like he gets hurt every year. So you're going to see Jalen Hurts at some point, but I expect them to put him in the game, not in any type of physical blocking, like on the line of scrimmage, like you see Taysom Hill, but you're gonna see him in the backfield at some point.
Yeah, wouldn't you love to see Jalen Hurts just rush the punter and try to block a punt? I would pay. I'm gonna pay for Sunday ticket anyway, but that alone would make me pay for Sunday ticket if I get a chance to watch Jalen Hurts do that. Yeah. So I think I'm not as confident that they're going to use him in wildcat situations. I think being on the Eagles, if there's any team that knows and understands the value of a backup quarterback, it's the Eagles. They won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. They've seen their quarterback go down a lot, and they almost won a playoff game with Josh McCown, a backup quarterback. So maybe they're thinking if we just had a little more talent as a backup last year, they could have been playing the Packers in the divisional round. I think it's just more of a pick for a backup quarterback is basically what I'm saying. So, yeah, I'm with you that I wasn't very high on the pick at first. It's grown on me a little bit because, the most valuable position is quarterback. The second most valuable may be backup quarterback. So the pick makes sense a little bit. You would argue, I know you're running back. So
it's literally one of my least favorite sayings in the football like culture. Like I'd probably say my left tackle, and then I'd probably say my defensive line. Like I don't know, like guys that are probably gonna play more than 5 snaps a game. Like Nick Mullins didn't take a single snap last year, and he's our backup quarterback. So that seems like a weird thing. Anyway. I get the philosophy behind it, but it's very annoying.
It doesn't sound like you do. It doesn't sound like you. I understand. Well, okay, but if we could derail for a minute on that, because you saw when Jimmy Garoppolo goes down, you guys become a 4-12 team. When your quarterback doesn't go down, you're in the Super Bowl.
I kind of don't care. Like if my quarterback goes down, I kind of don't care. Like I care like it's just a wash for the season. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think there's any backup. The Nick Foles situation is the complete outlier that I would bet money will never happen again. That this guy is just money for this team somehow, and he sucks everywhere else. There's something about him playing in Philly, but like, no, I'm just willing to bet money that that's not going to be the case. If your quarterback goes down, like, look, it's just kind of a wash. You play as hard as you can. Hopefully, you make something interesting for the rest of the year. But like, if I invest high picks in positions that are actually going to play, my team is going to be more successful than if I invest a high pick in my second rounder who might not even play. If Jalen Hurts has to be the full-time starter this year, like, that is a terrible situation. You know what I mean? Like, it just in my head, it doesn't make any sense.
But it's a better situation than if you had Josh McCown.
Yeah, you're right. So great. You'll go 9-7 this year instead of 7-9. Congratulations. You used a second round pick on a guy that's going to take you to 9-7. Like, it just doesn't, in my head, I wouldn't do the team that way. I think guess what? You could have signed Andy Dalton. You could have signed Jameis Winston. I would take either of those guys before Jalen Hurts this year as my backup quarterback. Easily.
Okay.
Easily. It wouldn't have even been close. I would have taken one of those dudes before them. Just saying. I'm just throwing that out there.
All right. Difference of opinions. I mean, I just remember a time in 2016, a certain America's team lost their quarterback, had a pretty good backup quarterback, and they won the division and made the playoffs. Wasn't a wash. I'm just saying.
Awesome. That's great. I'm happy for you. That's great.
It sounds like you're really happy. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I appreciate how genuine you're happy for me.
Yep.
So, all right, with that, we can transition happily over to the Dallas Cowboys. America's team had a rough go in Jason Garrett's last year as a head coach. Finished 8-8, just kind of choked away the division. There's no easy way to sugarcoat it. That's exactly what happened. It was theirs for the taking, and they blew it. Finished 8-8. Now Mike McCarthy comes in as the new head coach. Kept Kellen Moore on as offensive coordinator, interestingly enough. But how are you feeling about the Dallas Cowboys?
I would feel a lot better about the Cowboys if this whole Dak Prescott thing would get resolved. I don't like how this is like unfolded. My guess is he's going to end up signing the franchise tag. I don't think Jerry Jones is going to do what he should do and just roll with Andy Dalton and just say fine. Like, I don't know. I think Dak's going to end up signing the franchise tag. Now, on paper, like, most talented team in the division. Like, I really think that. I think Philly is close, but with your offensive weapons, the running back, you have probably one of the best wide receiver cores in the league. When your linebackers are healthy, like top 3 linebacking core in the league, probably, like, just incredible. The Dak situation scares me. The new coaching staff worries me a little bit, not from that they won't be able to get it done, but how good will they be this year type of thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't a Jason Garrett guy. I don't think he set like this amazing culture in Dallas. I don't think he was like a great motivator. So McCarthy could be better at that. And if he's better at that, maybe like that's going to take you guys to the next level right away. But usually when you have a new coach, like it takes a year. So I think Dallas is probably a playoff team. What was their over and under? They were 9.5. So yeah. I'll take the over. I think that 10 wins is like very reasonable for Dallas. I think they're a year away from like really making a push. Like I think if they win 10 games this year, then next year, like you're looking at them as like Super Bowl contenders, like a 12-win team, because they have so much talent. If you could get the Dak issue resolved and Mike McCarthy has a year of like, all right, this is my team, this is my organization, this is my culture and everything, like it's all going to come together for them. But I think they're a year away probably.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say at least a year away. Anytime, I mean, I can't think of a time a brand new coach came in to a team and then took them to a Super Bowl. McCarthy's not brand new. Granted, he has some success and a Lombardi trophy for that matter, but it's going to take some time. You know, my concern mostly with the Cowboys is, look, I love the CeeDee Lamb pick because you got such good value at 17. I mean, he was like the 6th overall rated prospect coming out. So you just take talent when you can do it. And Mike McCarthy likes to run 3 wide receivers more than 70% of the time in his offenses. So I get that, but it didn't like address your biggest need. Your need was on defense, whether it's defensive line, safety, defensive back. They get Trayvon Diggs in the 2nd round. Again,
probably his starter. Trayvon Diggs probably a starter, so
he will be, and I like that. But you lost Robert Quinn, who had 11.5 sacks last year. He may not always do that, but he did it for you last year. And then you bring in a couple good guys for interior defensive line in Gerald McCoy, Dontari Poe. So you get some depth there. I don't know that I have any faith in you'll have some opinion on this, I'm sure, but Aldon Smith, now he's reinstated, but he's been out for so long. Like, you can't just count on that. Randy Gregory's trying to get back. I think there's just a lot you're hoping to create production, but there's not a lot you can just really bank on and say, these guys are going to produce for me. DeMarcus Lawrence was down massively in sacks, but he still had a pretty good season if you factor in his tackles, run stopping ability, some of his pressures. It wasn't just all a wash. You can't put it all on sacks.
Yeah.
But basically, I say all of that to say, Mike, the concern there is still their defense.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're a top 10 defense, and if you're not a top 10 defense, you can't really compete for a championship.
Sure. So they hired Mike Nolan as their defensive coordinator, which I mean, again, this goes back to the whole 49er thing. Like, not a head coach. I think he's had success at times as a defensive coordinator, but he's like bounced around the league as a defensive coordinator, and some of that's not his fault. I think he's been in situations where the head coach gets fired and then you're just let go. Yeah. He's good with linebackers. I think that's kind of his like specialty around the league, is like he works well with linebackers and gets the most out of them. But you guys already have a good linebacking core. Like, you know what I mean? You would hope that. Now, they also hired, again, like, I'm just going full 49ers on you. They hired Jim Tomsula as the defensive line coach, who atrocious head coach, A+ defensive line coach, though. Like, he's really good. So maybe that's going to make a difference for you. But I don't like Mike Nolan I would err on, like, that's a questionable defensive coordinator hire. And so I don't know. I don't know what to make of them. You just hope that you can get the most out of your DeMarcus Lawrence and maybe Aldon Smith. Like, if he comes up with 3 or 4 sacks this year, like, that's a win for Aldon Smith. If the dude can just be active on game day and not be abusing some different substance or whatever, like, that's a huge win for him, because his life has taken such a turn. I don't know, man. Those are the questions I have. But on paper, Dallas next year going into the offseason, focusing on defense, like, they don't need anything on the offense unless you're gonna draft an offensive lineman to maybe, you know what I mean, give you some depth and take over for when they need it. Like, it should just be a defense heavy next offseason to really solidify everything, because they have everything set on offense.
Yeah. It just seems like the Cowboys say that a lot. They need some help on defense. There's always talk about, let's just get a safety. Clinton Dix is probably an upgrade from what they had at safety last year with Jeff Heath. A lot of talk trying to get Jamal Adams. I would stay away from it. Jamal Adams is an all-pro safety. I get the talent, but you're going to have to give up a lot of draft picks to try to trade for him, and then you're going to have to pay him money, which he's asking for like $15 million a year. You don't have that kind of money going around.
That's the big, like, if you didn't have to pay him right away, like, if I'm Jerry, I would call the Jets and I'd be like, hey, 2021 first round pick, straight swap, I'll give it to you for Jamal Adams. And to me, that would be worth it, because he's that good. He is that good, but you got to pay him because you paid Zeke. So now you're in this situation where you can't even pay your quarterback right now. Yeah. Well, you can pay your quarterback what he's worth, but your quarterback thinks he's worth more. And so, I don't know. Anyway.
What I'll say with the Dak situation is I don't think it's going to carry over into the year being an issue, because July 15th is going to come and go, and that's when the decision has to be made. He's going to sign the franchise tag or he gets a long-term deal. So we'll know by July 15th. I don't think Dak's going to hold out. I don't think he's going to be traded anywhere. I think he's going to be the starting quarterback for the Cowboys next year. I would think it's probably going to be with the franchise tag. I don't think they're going to come to terms on a deal. So I think he's going to do the franchise tag. And really, that's not the worst thing for either party. I think. Right. I mean, we saw with Kirk Cousins how it worked out. It was kind of tough for the Redskins because you never really committed to Kirk Cousins and building around him. But I think at least in Dallas, you do have a lot of good pieces, and you just have a quarterback you just want to pay year to year. And that could work, and especially if you kind of hang on to Andy Dalton, and he becomes your next guy in the chute as you keep building pieces. You just want to give Dak, maybe 2 or 3 goes as franchise tag, and then let him be a free agent somewhere else, and then you move Andy Dalton in there. I don't know. It's not ideal, but if you're gonna have a quarterback asking for $38-ish million a year, I don't think you can pay Dak that money. I don't know who you can pay that much money. I mean, even if you're looking at Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, you don't want to let those guys go. But if you sink, 40% of your salary cap into one person, it's going to hurt the rest of your team. It's just a tough situation to be in.
I think the only person you could pay that money in the league is Pat Mahomes, because he's under 25. He won you a Super Bowl already, and his game is one that translates long term. I don't think you could pay Lamar Jackson that money because you don't know what's going to happen. I hope Lamar stays healthy and does his thing, but quarterbacks with that style of game just haven't had longevity. So
that's true.
I think Pat Mahomes is probably the only one you would pay. Do you think that if you had to put a percentage on the chances that Jerry Jones would just pull the franchise tag and let Dak test the market or walk, what percentage do you see Jerry Jones doing that? Is it a 0% chance he does that?
No, I wouldn't say with Jerry Jones, nothing is 0%.
Right.
Pull it and let it walk. So Stephen Jones went on record saying that's not on the table at all to pull it. They said no way they're doing that. So we can factor that in. However, gosh, I don't know. I mean, no more than 10% would be high, I would think. But it wouldn't be the craziest thing. If someone, I don't know. I think they like Dak. I think they want him on their team and as the quarterback. But you probably don't want to be pushing Jerry Jones's ego around.
That's what I'm thinking.
Or try to bully him. And what interests me the most now is that Dak seems to lose his leverage because they have Andy Dalton. I think Andy Dalton was their best offseason pickup. And I don't know that he's ever going to see the field, but I just think, honestly, that now they have a plan in place if you don't have Dak Prescott anymore.
Sure.
Dak's been healthy his entire career, which is amazing, but it's hard to count on that. Cooper Rush was your backup, who had one decent preseason sort of thing and then regressed, and they got rid of him. So now having Andy Dalton, a proven Pro Bowl caliber guy, who you would think if you can protect him and he can throw to Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb and
hand off to Zeke, right?
You would think they could make it.
I think I've been on the record saying this, but you have to factor in the economics when you're talking players, and I would rather have Andy Dalton at $5 million a year or $7 million a year than Dak Prescott at $40 million a year. And I think because the team is so good around him that I can't help but think Andy Dalton also came from a terrible organization, so I can't help but think that he would have similar success, even though I think Dak is just a quarterback is better. The way this whole economics things works with it, I would take Andy Dalton. Now, this is going to be a measuring year for Dak, the best measuring year you've had, and it's going to determine his future with the Cowboys, because he's either, if he balls out and does really, really well and leads you to a division championship and you get to the conference championship or even the Super Bowl, like you really don't have a choice but to pay him. Like I feel like that's what's going to happen. But if he doesn't win a division championship, like that would kind of be the measuring stick for me. If he doesn't win the division championship with this roster, like Dak really loses all his leverage and he probably caves a little bit and is like, all right, fine, I'm going to just take what you guys are going to give me. But I don't know. Like, I don't know. Yeah. It's a tough deal. And I like you hit the nail on the head. I wouldn't test Jerry's ego because at some point he's going to – because Jerry views the organization as like a family. And that's like how he wants it to be. Mm-hmm. And so for a guy like Dak who got drafted – what was he, fourth round? Fourth round. Like they gave him the reins. You know what I mean? They put their faith in Dak when he played so well in the preseason and everything. Like – for him to kind of come back and kind of nickel and dime Jerry like that, like Jerry's gonna, I'm sure he already has taken some offense. Now Jerry's one of the best businessmen in the world. He's not going to let too much emotion play into his decision making, but I think everyone's got a tipping point. So,
yeah, and I will say I like your point that this is a measuring year. It seemed like last year was also that, but Jason Garrett took the blunt of that, and he's gone. Sure. Dak had a great year, albeit not making the playoffs, but I mean, they had the number one offense in the league, right? So yeah, now you have McCarthy, even though it's his first year, he's a proven winning coach, So you're not going to put the blame on him if things don't work out. The blame will go on Dak Prescott, unless there's, crazy injuries or whatever, but the blame is going to be on him. The only thing is you're going to pay him at least like $31 million with the franchise tag. That's a lot of money to give a quarterback for a measuring year. But still, I think that makes sense. $30 million guaranteed is better than the $100 million guaranteed that you have to give him.
It's short term and it's just the structure of the deal. That's just how it works in the NFL and the sooner they can get some idea of what's like. Right now, the worst thing that can happen with the Cowboys is for this to be prolonged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to – again, I don't think they're going to pull the franchise tag, but if you're going to pull the franchise tag, just do it.
Yeah.
Like, let the team just move on or you know what I mean? Dak needs to just – and Dak's right. Like, he has to take care of himself. So, like, I don't blame him. He doesn't have to sign anything before July 15th, so why not? Just wait it out and see what happens. But – the longer it goes on, and if it goes past July 15th, then the Cowboys are going to be in real trouble because that type of distraction is never good for any team.
The trouble would be if he does hold out, which quarterbacks don't normally do, and I want to believe Dak Prescott isn't that type of guy. I don't think he is. But so one thing, I want to pose this question for you, right? We know, so Dak Prescott, let's say he's on the franchise tag this year. They don't do well, maybe they finish 8-8 again or 9-7, whatever. Don't do well, you're probably going to cut him.
Yeah.
Move to Andy Dalton. What if franchise tag he wins you the Super Bowl?
This year?
Yeah.
This year. Oh, I'd probably cave. Cave. Yeah, because he's proven he's the guy, and you just got to get creative with the salary cap. It's going to hurt your team, but you won a Super Bowl, and like. You can't talk about your franchise being family and not reward a guy like that. You know what I mean? Like I think what they're offering him is exactly what he deserves. If he wins a Super Bowl, then he deserves more. Like he wants to be paid like a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Like if you win the Super Bowl, then I'll get. The problem is if Dak wins a Super Bowl, he's going to want $45 million a year or $50 million a year. You know what I mean? And at that point, I don't know if I would do that, but I would be like, if he wins you the Super Bowl, whatever he is asking for today on May 26th of 2020, I would go to him and be like, I will give you that contract now. You won the Super Bowl. We've got you locked up with Zeke. We'll figure something out. Like you, and I would say in the thing, I would be a jerk. And I'd be like, look, we'll give you this contract, but when your defense can't stop anybody in the next 2 years because we can't pay anybody, like I want you to remember this moment, and this is why we wanted to pay you less.
Yeah.
But I think you have to. I think there's some reward because he's still young enough. You would be paying for future production. It's not like a situation where you'd be paying for his past production. Like you would think that maybe we can run it back in the next year or two, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, I bring it up because if you're just thinking from a business standpoint, you've won the Super Bowl. You've accomplished your goal. Most teams, I mean, you can't always have a dynasty, right? Cowboys love a dynasty. Niners were a dynasty. Patriots were a dynasty. They love that, but that's not really that realistic. You can probably be happy with a Lombardi Trophy in one every like 10 years. Would be
amazing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So you're almost thinking, hey, I got my Lombardi Trophy. Why do I need to pay this guy $40 million? Because I think maybe he's going to do it again. I still got Andy Dalton, who I think could be pretty good. So let me say, hey, thank you for your service. Thank you for the Lombardi Trophy. Like, have someone else pay you who's desperate for it. I think I have enough talent right now. I'm going to save that money and build elsewhere. I think that's not the craziest idea.
That's the pure like business move and like the non-emotional business move and probably the right one. The problem is like I think I value a little bit of the like you have to like take care of guys. You want to establish this reputation that you take care of your own and your team and your organization and to get guys to want to be here. But pure business, cold-hearted business, like that's the right move. If you do sign Dak to a $40 million a year deal, like that just means you got to draft well. You just have to draft well, and you're paying basically nothing for these good guys that come in and play as Pro Bowl level. Like that's your best shot to maintain success. Kudos to you if you cut a guy after winning the Super Bowl. Like kudos to you. I don't think I could do it because I would be like, look, your family, you won me a Super Bowl, like I'm gonna reward you. Like that's kind of how I would do business probably.
Yeah. And maybe you do bring in other guys because they want to join a winning culture. Like that. You know what I mean? So you can probably get some more talent for a little cheaper and they say, hey, Dak is the guy, he can get the money. You know, I just want to win a Super Bowl, so I'll come play for cheap. So but these are all pipe dreams. Cowboys need to put it together and get to the playoffs first and then maybe win some playoff games and then we can talk about the rest.
Well, with that 7 seed this year, I mean we're going to do a playoff prediction type of thing, but unless something changes between now and then, like the Cowboys better make the playoffs or Dak's never going to play another game for the Cowboys ever in his career. You know what I mean? Like if they can't make the playoffs with this roster, and let's be honest, in this division, like when two of your teams are gonna be below 500, like you need to be in that playoff hunt for sure, and you have the extra playoff spot now. So I'd be shocked if the Cowboys aren't in that range. I would say.
I think the 7th seed needs to be their floor, and then I guess the 4th seed. Probably like I think whoever wins the NFC East is probably going to be the 4th seed.
Wow, you're really down on your division this year. That's
I mean the proof is in the pudding, right? Like they haven't been towards the top in recent years. I think whoever comes out of the South between the Saints and the Buccaneers, like that's probably better. 49ers are reigning NFC champions, they're going to be the top. We know what we're going to get in Seattle, at least 10-6. And then the Packers were 13-3. Like I don't know that they're going to drop a whole lot, and the Vikings got better. So
I think I'm just down on the NFC North more. I mean we already did our NFC North show. I think the Vikings are going to win that division, but I guess it's regular season, so maybe Kirk Cousins could win you 12 games if it's but I guess it's not crazy. I think like we're both, so it sounds like we're both taking the Eagles, right, in the NFC East. So I just think you have a Super Bowl winning coach and you have a quarterback who is as promising as any young franchise QB could be. Like it's hard to think that they're going to be the worst division winner in the NFC, but I guess that's how it could play out. It really could, because it's I don't know.
We'll see. It's going to be an exciting year. We're getting closer and closer. Get more excited. So that's gonna do it for this episode. You guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging with us while we digressed a little bit, went a little long, but that's what you can expect when we're talking about our teams.
Yeah. We're gonna come up with some good stuff going forward. Playoff predictions, maybe some interviews we've talked about. So we'll see. We'll let you know. But we'll keep producing some content during this lull we've got going on in coronavirus 2020. But keep tuning in. Yeah,
and for those listening, thanks for tuning in, for watching. Subscribe. Hey, leave comments if there's something you want us to make or talk about. Hit us up, email, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Leave comments, whatever. We read it all and we'll do what we can.
Yes, sir. Until next time.